The Admiral walked through the Navy base hallway, his polished boots clicking against the tiles. His medals glimmered under the lights, each one a symbol of honor and power. Then, his eyes landed on the janitor mopping the floor, a quiet, middle-aged man with worn hands and a tired face. The Admiral smirked and said mockingly, "Hey, janitor, what's your call sign?" The man paused, gripping the mop tightly. He looked up slowly, his calm eyes holding a depth of experience the Admiral couldn't place. And in a low, steady voice, he replied, "Lone Eagle, sir." The Admiral's smile vanished. The hallway went silent. Even the air seemed to freeze. Because that call sign belonged to a ghost from the battlefield, a SEAL who had vanished years ago after saving an entire team on a classified mission no one was ever supposed to talk about. It was just another cold morning at the Naval Academy. The cadets marched in perfect formation, their uniforms crisp, their spirits sharp. Amid the echo of discipline and duty, Michael Reed, a janitor in a faded blue uniform, swept the hallway floors silently. He never spoke much. He did his job, cleaned up after the young soldiers, and disappeared before sunset. Some of the cadets whispered about him, how his eyes seemed too focused, too alert for a man who was just a cleaner. Others said they once saw a tattoo on his arm, the kind SEALs wore. But no one ever asked. He was just Mr. Reed, the quiet janitor with a limp and a mysterious air. At home, he lived with his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, his world, his heartbeat, his reason to keep breathing. Every morning, he packed her lunch, tied her hair, and kissed her forehead before school. Their house was small, but full of warmth. Lily didn't know much about her dad's past. She just knew he worked hard and smiled whenever she laughed. But sometimes, at night, she would find him sitting outside on the porch, staring at the stars, whispering something under his breath. Something like, "Hold position, we're going home." One day, a new admiral arrived at the base. Admiral Grant Wallace, a strict and proud man with a reputation for pushing his soldiers to the limit. He believed in hierarchy, in showing authority. When he saw Michael sweeping near the command office, he smirked and said, "You know, janitor, I used to be like you once. Maybe not mopping floors, but starting small. Tell me, what's your call sign?" It was meant as a joke, a little jab to make his subordinates laugh. But when Michael looked up, the Admiral felt a chill run down his spine. "Lone Eagle, sir," the janitor said quietly, without emotion. The room fell silent. One of the officers froze mid-step. The Admiral's expression changed instantly, his eyes widened, and his jaw tightened. "Lone Eagle," he repeated, disbelief in his tone. "That's impossible." Because he remembered the name. Lone Eagle was a legend, an elite SEAL sniper who had once led a covert rescue in Afghanistan, saving 13 men trapped behind enemy lines. The story ended with Lone Eagle presumed dead after covering the team's escape. His body was never recovered. The Admiral stammered, "You can't be him." Michael just nodded once and went back to mopping the floor. Later that night, Admiral Wallace found himself in his office, unable to focus. He opened the old SEAL archives and searched the name Lone Eagle. Michael Reed, Navy SEAL, call sign, Lone Eagle. Status, Kia, body not recovered. The Admiral's hands trembled slightly. He remembered being a young officer then, hearing stories of Lone Eagle, the man who volunteered to stay behind enemy lines so others could escape. A man who never came home. But here he was, mopping floors. The next morning, Admiral Wallace called Michael into his office. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" he asked. Michael simply said, "Because I'm not a SEAL anymore, sir. I'm a father." He told him the story, the real one. How after the explosion, he was presumed dead, left behind for hours under rubble. By the time he made it back to camp, the government had already listed him as Kia. His wife had moved on, thinking he'd died. He didn't blame her. He didn't want to fight anymore. He wanted peace. He took a new name, a quiet life, and focused on raising Lily. But fate had a way of finding him. A few weeks later, while cleaning the training yard, Michael noticed a commotion, a cadet trapped under heavy equipment. No one could lift it. Without hesitation, Michael ran, grabbed a steel bar, and with raw strength and precision, freed the cadet. His movements were tactical, controlled like muscle memory from years of SEAL training. The cadets stared in awe. Admiral Wallace saw it too, the way Michael moved, calm under chaos, focused under pressure. That wasn't a janitor. That was a warrior. That night, Wallace visited Michael again. "You could have been a commander by now," Wallace said quietly. Michael smiled faintly. "Ranks fade, sir. But saving people? That stays." The Admiral looked down. "We could use a man like you again." Michael shook his head. "Not for war. But maybe, to train those who go." And that's what happened. A few months later, Lone Eagle returned not to the battlefield, but to the academy, as a mentor for the next generation. He trained them not just to fight, but to think, to protect, to come home. Lily would visit sometimes, watching her dad from the sidelines, her heart full of pride. The janitor who once mopped floors now stood as a silent legend, a living reminder that true heroes don't seek medals or fame. They just keep going. Direct hit ending message, emotional close for YouTube. Sometimes, the quietest people carry the loudest stories. Sometimes, the ones who seem ordinary once saved the world. And sometimes, being a hero isn't about the battles you win. It's about having the courage to start over. Because even when the world forgets your name, your call sign never fades.